is Tom Vecchio. Happy NFL season, Tom.
Thanks for having me, and congrats on the Ringer news. That's
Thank
absolutely
you.
awesome.
Thank you. I am excited. When you go through the day-to-day, sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a really long day. So when I have a glass of wine later, I think I'll appreciate it at that point in time. But I'm going to appreciate you every time that you're on. The chat is absolutely loving Saquon today, of course. People are taking Dak under passing yards, Jalen Hurts over passing yards, and no one's really mentioning what we like today. So that's a good start for us. Let's start with what you like. So you're actually going Dak over, and I had to spell a typo because I'm rushing, of course.
Okay.
Dak Prescott over 36.5 pass attempts. So he's going to throw a lot?
Yeah, the Cowboys are going to be throwing a lot the entire year. So, on a game like tonight, could I see Dak going under his yards? But, when we look at the Cowboys running back room, even if you just look at Javonte Williams' rushing prop, he's their starting running back, and he's listed at 33 yards. Like, Javonte Williams is a replacement level running back. He's not good. It's him, it's Miles Sanders, and it's the rookie Jadon Blue. And like, a lot of people are hyped about Jadon Blue, long term, but it's not like they're going to give him 20 carries. So the Cowboys defense was average with Micah Parsons. It's now below average. They're in a passing game script as they're 8.5-point dogs. It was 6.5 just a couple of weeks ago. The Cowboys are going to be playing from behind. So if we have replacement level running backs and a rookie, and now we have a team playing from behind, what does that mean? It just means that they're going to throw a ton. So I know a lot of people have these negative, I don't want to say thoughts, but like they have like this negative narrative that they put out there about the Cowboys that like they can't win. Like if Dak plays the entire season, he's going to throw for over 4,000 yards. He's going to have like 580 to 600 passing attempts, and he's going to average 35 to 40 per game. So if they're playing from behind, they have two awesome receivers on the outside. Dak's just going to throw the ball. Who cares if there's inefficiency at some level? The volume will be there.
On FanDuel, 7-1, second shortest odds behind Joe Burrow to lead the NFL in passing yards for Dak Prescott.
Yeah, they're going to play from behind a ton. The Cowboys are going to be a team that when at the end of the season, and as we look over rolling, 3-5 game stretches, they will be at the higher end of plays run per game, because when you run a lot of pass plays, you can obviously, there's going to be a ton of incompletions, and they're inefficient at running the ball. It means that they're not going to be bleeding the clock. That means there's going to be a ton of passing attempts time and time again.
Okay, I like it. I always love taking pass attempt props over week one, because I think we end up with these quarterbacks in the 40s at the end of the year. The early weeks of the NFL season, you're able to get these really good numbers on quarterbacks that do tend to throw the football a lot.
They tend to throw the football, like the entire game script sets up. If you're down by 8.5 points, if the Eagles are coming, that's 2 scores. You have to throw the ball to catch up. That's just a fact in the NFL, combined with the fact that they're going to be down because of the bad defense, and they have a terrible running back room. Like, people need to get away from Javonte Williams. Like, a 33.5 prop for a starting running back in the NFL.
And it's dropping. It was 34.5 yesterday.
Either A, the books don't know. They're actually uncertain about what his role will be, or they're literally not going to be able to run it against a good defense. They just have to pass the ball. So I've seen a lot of people talk about the Cowboys almost being matchup proof, where like theoretically, even if they were against whatever team ends up being the best defense, the volume will be there. Like CeeDee Lamb could still see 10 targets against the best corners because they have to.
The only thing that scares me about the Javonte Williams call, because I actually was looking at the under. It was very low. Yeah. And I've also seen that he's done better. He's done okay. Like back to last year, I know it was a different offense. He did okay last year against top run Ds, and I don't mean well. I just mean well regarding his like prop. Right. And he did okay in week ones, and it tells me they're not worried about Javonte Williams. So why not just play in zone or something like defending the receivers as opposed to worrying about stacking the box?
There's a portion that can be like that. You can take that as a portion and play. Like, there's also just the fact that like he's not a long-term running back for them. So if they just want to give him carries just because they want to run him out there, and they need literally a body out there to move the chains, and average like 2.4 yards per attempt, which is horrible. Like, they could just throw him out there because they have nothing to lose. It's not like he's some prized running back that they don't want to get banged up. It's like, okay, if it happens, whatever.
Dak Prescott going to throw the football a lot tonight, according to Tom. Yeah. Then the receivers. So you like Devontae Smith over 53.5 receiving yards.
Yeah.
It is always so difficult for me to choose receivers, especially when you're going between 1 and a 2.
Yeah.
How did you come to Devontae Smith?
So AJ Brown has been through our training camp. He was dealing with a hamstring injury, and he did get back to practice in full, dating back to the middle of last week. But it was still something that was hampering him. And when you are, it's like Chase and Higgins to an extent in Cincinnati. Obviously, Chase is better. We all know that. But at the end of the day, they are roughly the same. It's not like we're dealing with a guy up at 80 and a guy down at 20. It's like, okay, he's like 60 and 50, 80 and 60, whatever it might be. I just like the role that Smith plays. If they're going to put him in the slot a little bit, I think that's fine. Jahan Dotson will certainly be out there. Grant Calcaterra is wide receiver 2 behind Dallas Goedert. So, there's a lot of options in play. But when we have a receiver that we know is healthy, who had a great target share last year, 9.0 ADOT average of the target, he can get downfield quickly. So, I like it.
We've got questions in the chat before we move on to the weekend. So, Mark wants to know, who do you like for longest touchdown for week 1? And do you like Dotson 60+ receiving yards?
I wouldn't love Dotson.
That's an insane number. I have him over 7.5, and we're going to talk about it later.
So longest TD, I always have a little piece, or I have a piece of DK for this week, DK Metcalf does. I wouldn't mind that. Marvin Harrison wouldn't surprise me. Mike Williams is always good. Not Mike Williams, excuse me. Mike Evans is always good for long TD, especially against in-division rivals. Tyreek, Waddle, all those guys would be in play.
Then AJ, 70 or more yards, just Rodriguez wants to know?
That's the one I'm a little bit hesitant about because of the hamstring. Where if you told me 8, he finished with 4 or 5 catches for 50 yards, maybe even a touchdown. But then Smith has 50 or 60. Dallas Goedert has some. Saquon's doing his thing. I see it as a well-rounded offense. So I'm a little bit hesitant on A.J. Brown, and I will say I am very high on him. He's on my most important dynasty team. So I would love for him to do well tonight. But the hamstring first game back, it's just a little wary to me.
Oh, boy. Game leaders for tonight. Dak, CD Barkley, plus 350 on DK.
I mean, that honestly seems like the chalk, but it does seem pretty solid. And this is in terms of passing, receiving, and rushing, where, again, Dak should be throwing the ball more than Jalen Hurts. The game script sets up for that with them as 8.5-point underdogs. So Dak throwing the ball, regardless of how good he is, interceptions, touchdowns, doesn't matter. If he can throw for 280 yards, that's not Hurts' style. They don't have him throw for nearly 300 yards. Dak doing that. If he's going to be throwing for a ton of yards, the majority of them should be going to CD. And then if that's happening, it's likely because they're playing from behind. Therefore, the Eagles are in a spot to run the ball. So I don't love the odds, but I do think that is a very realistic possibility.
If you aren't so high on AJ, how willing are you to take an under?
I would take an under. And again, this is literally specific to me because, again, I have AJ Brown on my most important dynasty team. I often take unders on all my players just because either A, I win the bet, or B, if they go over, it means I'm having a good week and they're doing well. So it's an emotional hedge for my own happiness. So I often do bet under AJ Brown receiving, Xavier Worthy. I just drafted Genti in a rookie draft on Monday night. So I'd be willing to take unders on them because if I win the bet, awesome. And then if they go over that, AJ Brown having 80+ yards is great.
CeeDee Lamb, he's, I think, 3rd in the odds this season to lead the NFL in receiving yards. How much are you willing to put money on CeeDee Lamb?
I think that's honestly a great option. And when you look back at CeeDee Lamb's game log from last year, I would be willing to throw out basically everything after Dak wasn't there. And a lot of people are looking back at the game from last year, beginning in November when they played the Cowboys. And, Cooper Rush was the quarterback. So let's put an asterisk on that. That doesn't, I don't care if he was awesome in the game, terrible in the game. It's not Dak. And when Dak was the quarterback last year, CeeDee Lamb was averaging 10.5 or 10.6, whatever his targets per game. He throws the ball to Lamb. They have a very condensed target tree. It's going to be CeeDee Lamb. It's going to be George Pickens. It's going to be some of Turpin, some of Jake Ferguson, and that's really it. So when they throw the ball, if they're playing from behind, I would be willing to go to CD, especially the fact that you're getting even money on CeeDee Lamb over 6.5 receptions.
Let's get to Tom's card for this upcoming weekend. Before we even get to the other ones, McBride is one you've already mentioned on the show. Like a week ago, you brought up McBride to score a touchdown, which, by the way, on my touchdown survivor pool on Splash, I'm going to play a McBride touchdown solely for you.
Oh, I love that. Again, this is a player last year who had a nearly 30% target share and a 32% red zone target share. He went nearly all of last season without scoring. He scored in the final 2 weeks receiving wise. Again, he had a rushing touchdown literally before he had a receiving touchdown. But Trey McBride is awesome. Going to DK Metcalf. When we look at the Steelers, no one's going to compete with DK Metcalf for actual targets in their offense. And, as I mentioned, longest reception this week, I should say, for week one. Like DK Metcalf is that player that has a high ADAT, high air yards, can always break off these big catches, and it's 54.5. They brought him in and extended him, and they're going to throw him the ball. Again, there's no one on the Steelers that should really take targets away from DK Metcalf. And it's kind of the same thing with Steph Diggs. Like, they got him, they paid him. He looks good in training camp. I know he didn't play in the preseason, but the matchup
not worried about any kind of injury problem?
No, I'm not worried about Diggs not injury with that. He should be the dominant-ish guy in New England, and I'm really expecting Drake May to take a big step forward this year. Like, I think the Pats are in for a pretty solid year, and more importantly, the matchup is awesome because the Raiders have one of the worst cornerback and secondary groups in the league. There's no reason that I wouldn't take the Pats. It was a 2.5 on the spread. I'm not going to say I love the Pats, in terms of like a survivor thing, but I think they're in for a really good year. Just the talent increase that we've seen in New England in the offseason overall. Players want to play for Vrabel. Like, they're going to have a good year.
Vrabel came out with Morgan Wallen at Gillette. He is embracing it. He's ready to go. Hey, listen, I like Vrabel much better anyway as a head coach, and I think that's going to be really beneficial for the defense and for Drake May, just for being able to get some energy and some tough, hard-nosed football the way we see it in Detroit.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of people are talking about just year over year, the raw talent increase from last year to this year is great. I've seen a lot of people taking New England to make the playoffs. You're not going to put them in a spot to win the division over Buffalo, but I would say that they're better than the Dolphins. In terms of the wild card, I think they have a real shot to do it, and they have a really favorable schedule.
This prop's so interesting that Boise's saying Daniels under 2.5 touchdowns versus the Giants. This is the sharpest, this is the biggest Joes versus pros versus Joes, whatever game of the week, according to at least my friend John Murray over at the Superbook, according to people at FanDuel, DraftKings. The sharp money has been on the Giants for weeks, maybe even months. Why is everybody liking the Giants, and why are we fading Jaden Daniels?
So I saw the Giants. It was at 6.5. The spread was a couple weeks ago in August when I was doing the show.
7 months ago.
And I remember saying, vividly, if it moves to 7.5, I will absolutely be on the Giants. And it moved the other way. The Giants have a really good defensive line. Really good. And, the team overall may not be amazing, but when you have that much talent up front that can put pressure on the quarterback, that's one piece. But the next piece, but when you look at Commanders overall, like I know some people are taking the under on their wins and are essentially buying into the narrative that, was last year kind of like a flash in the pan. But, you almost don't have Terry the entire training camp. You trade away a running back. Granted, it's just a running back. It's not a major thing. But, the offense isn't amazing. It really isn't. A lot of people are calling it a one-man show. Outside of Terry McLaurin, that passing offense is not great. They also have one of the oldest rosters in the league. So when you're looking at a running back room, a lot of people are high on Bill Krosky, Merrick, this Austin Eckler still there. Chris Rodriguez is there. It's kind of all over the place. It's like, was last year a fluke? And in terms of a fluke being on the right side of things compared to, are they actually good? And that's what we're going to find out this year. Also, their record last year in one-score games was 7-2 or 8-2 when it was you're constantly getting lucky. The coin's going to flip against you at some point. So people buying into I don't want to say an upstart Giants team, but a really underrated defensive line, I'm not surprised by.
4.5 win total is crazy for the Giants. Kind of disrespectful for the way the defense looks.
They do have the hardest strength of schedule, though.
Yeah, the Giants. It is a brutal schedule.
And a very tough division.
They definitely got better than last year. And maybe they'll be in games. Just not a playoff.
I think they are very
A lot of people expecting the Giants to
Right.
be the Patriots of last year over the Bengals.
Sure. I would say that like the Giants will cover X amount more games this year. I'm not going to say they're going to win more games, but I think they'll play better.
Be in it. It won't be a complete embarrassment.
Right.
We still have Major League Baseball, and I know I didn't ask you this before the show. Anything on the slate for tonight?
I'm pretty sure I didn't place a single MLB bet today. It was literally all football. Got some college in there. Like I'm not the biggest college guy, so if I see anything, someone I respect, I'll tail them. More importantly, as I always say, like use the boost because that's really the time that I'm betting the most colleges, just using the promos, just because I'm not the biggest college.
You don't lose on the promos?
No, I know. Use the promos.
No, I'm saying like I feel like the promos. Oh, well, I guess it's like a promo, not a like when you use a promo.
Yeah, it's like only so if like was it this week? Michigan, Oklahoma. Like I will only bet games that have promos. I'm saying like.
So you don't, but they're not a sucker bet.
But if I'm just gonna lay the points or take the points, I might as well take it at plus money.
I get it. No, I get what you're saying. I just always feel like those are such a jinx.
I mean, I don't think so. Like I'm on the promos for tonight. What is it? The boost on always use these boosts. Like this is your only time to strike. Yeah, you're limited on it. But,
what did you see out there that you liked?
The TD jackpot on FanDuel. It's like player to have first or last TD. You get a share of that. So I took Will Shipley, the backup running back for the Eagles, because if it's a blowout, Saquon won't be playing and Will Shipley will be in there. So last TD for Will Shipley. One of the Saquon boosts for whatever is 80 plus yards, 90 plus yards are limited at a certain amount. The no sweat bet, like you got to use all of these. Like this is the time to strike. Like I know they put these out there and like the promos and boosts you get in week 13 are not going to be better than the ones you get in week 1.
That's true. No, they are trying to bait all of us into coming in. Come play with us. Like in The Shining. Come play with us. Seth says DK boosted Barkley anytime touchdown to plus 100.
You are. I forget what you're limited to on that. It's obviously different person to person. Called Shipley a few days ago, but like you got to use the boost.
Use the boost. That's Tom Vecchio's advice for today and this weekend. Tom Vecchio, thank you as always for joining the show on this NFL opener. Good luck this season. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks for having me.